Hi everyone, I'm Levy, and today I'll be discussing social media, news consumption, and polarization. The share of Americans consuming news and social media has drastically increased in the past decade, and this has led to concerns over the effect of social media on public opinion and polarization. In this paper, I estimate the effect of exposure to different news on social media using a large online field experiment. I recruited participants to the experiment using Facebook ad. Participants first completed a baseline survey in early 2018, and in the end of the survey, they were randomly assigned to one of three treatments: a liberal treatment, a conservative treatment, or a control group. Participants in the liberal treatment were offered to subscribe or like to up to 4 liberal news outlets on Facebook, and participants in the conservative treatment were offered 4 conservative outlets. When someone likes an outlet or a page on Facebook, posts from that outlet may start appearing in their Facebook feed. Approximately half the participants complied with the intervention, that is, they subscribed to at least one of the outlets offered. 2 months after the intervention, I invited all participants to an end-line survey where I asked them questions on their political opinions and attitudes. This is an example of what the intervention looks like. In the liberal treatment, I offered outlets such as the New York Times or Huffington Post, and all a participant had to do to comply was to click this like page button. I'm going to discuss 4 main results today. First of all, I find that the intervention substantially affected news consumption. The first panel in this figure shows the effect of each treatment compared to the control group on the slant of the Facebook feed. So here we see that the liberal treatment made the feed substantially more liberal, and the conservative treatment made the feed more conservative. What's more interesting is that as a result, participants started visiting more liberal and more conservative websites respectively. This is true when we look at all news sites visited, and when we look specifically at news sites visited through Facebook. The effect is rather substantial. The treatment and treated effects of the liberal and conservative treatments are similar to about 20% of the difference between the news consumption of liberals and conservatives in the control group. Why should we care about this result? We have a lot of theories in economics on how people optimize the slant of their news consumption. But what I show here is that news is often consumed incidentally. People tend to visit a news site just because it happens to appear higher up in the social media feed. This also means that algorithms determining what appears in our feed can substantially sway our news consumption. Next, I look at how this affects political opinions. Here I have 2 main outcomes: political opinions and effective polarization. For the political opinions, I created an index of about 20 questions asking individuals about issues discussed in the news during the study period. I basically find a null effect. The effect is very small, it's not statistically significant, and it's precisely estimated. My second outcome is the effect on effective polarization, defined as attitudes toward the opposing political party. This includes questions such as, how would you feel if your son or daughter married a Democrat or Republican? How do you feel toward the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? And here I do find an effect. I find that counter-attitudinal news decreases effective polarization. In other words, a liberal randomly exposed to the Wall Street Journal, for example, will develop more positive attitudes toward the Republican Party. Finally, since I find that the Facebook feed is important, it affects both news consumption and polarization, I look at what determines what appears in the Facebook feed. What I find is that people were exposed to many more posts from the pro-attitudinal outlets that I offered compared to the counter-attitudinal outlets. And the gap is quite large, about twice as many posts. I decompose this gap to 3 main explanations. First of all, participants preferred subscribing to outlets that match their opinion. Secondly, conditional on subscription, Facebook's algorithm tends to show participants more posts from outlets that match their opinion. This is often called a filter bubble. Finally, I find that participants in the counter-attitudinal treatment, those who are exposed to more counter-attitudinal posts, started using Facebook slightly less often. To conclude, this paper suggests that Facebook's algorithm may be amplifying polarization since it's filtering out these counter-attitudinal posts. However, I also show that when nudged, people are willing to engage with counter-attitudinal content, and therefore small nudges diversifying news consumption can be effective. Thank you very much.